Hi, I'm Judy Litt, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about something I mentioned briefly in this week's video on my YouTube channel. That fall is the time of the lung meridian, at least that's one of them. There's more than one. Meridians, if you're not familiar with them, are basically energy channels in our bodies. If you are familiar with the term nadis from yoga, it's very similar. They're associated with traditional Chinese medicine. If you've ever had any acupuncture, that's what your acupuncturist is working on. So the lung meridian kind of it goes up through our stomach and up through our diaphragm and our lungs, and it comes down our arm and down like the thumb side of our arm. So anything that's targeting the front of your body and is targeting kind of the inside of your arm, that's going to be targeting the lung meridian. The lung meridian is associated with the element metal, which is also the element associated with fall in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. And metal is associated with setting boundaries, with setting limits, having order and communication. When our lung meridian is balanced, we are more courageous. When it's imbalanced, physically, we are more susceptible to colds, to coughs, any sort of respiratory problems. And also on our more subtle body, when the lung meridian is imbalanced, we are more susceptible to grief, to holding on to things, to depression. I think I mentioned this in the video. Seasonal affective disorder. We're in fall now. The days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And some people, like myself, really struggle at this time of year. I know I really have for years and years and years. I've struggled. And like most depressions, and I wouldn't even call myself a depressed person, but like most depressions, I don't realize how badly it's affected me until it's over. So we are also in fall, we are in a very vata season. So going from traditional Chinese medicine, coming back to yoga, and our doshas, our constitutions. Fall is very vata. It is dry. It is windy. It begins to get cold. Our joints crack. And so we are transitioning our food, especially in this season, that's very transitional from the raw, cool foods that cooled us down during summer and moving into the warming foods. Things that moisturize us more from the inside out. Our seasonal foods like pumpkin. So that should be good news to a lot of people. Figs. Apples. That's good news to me. I love me some apples. So we want to be aware of limiting the amount of dry foods that we have, things like crackers, like popcorn, because yoga and Ayurveda subscribes to the reasoning that like increases like. So if you're eating, say, a lot of crackers, a lot of popcorn, a lot of very dried food, dried fruit maybe, then you are already increasing your vata, maybe even imbalancing it. And if you have trouble focusing, if you're drifting from one thing to the other, that is a vata imbalance. Physically, it can show up as constipation, as gas, as the cracking joints. So the season is Vata. It is cool, it is windy, it is dry. Perhaps your dosha, your constitution, is also Vata. So you have to be really careful and try and make sure you're eating things that are going to bring you back into balance and not throw you further out of balance. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, what this week's practice is trying to Meridian, and also help you strengthen your entire posterior chain, your knees, your hips, your low back, a little bit of your neck maybe as well. I hope you give this week's Yin Yoga practice a try. I hope you found this information interesting. One place I would point you to if you want to dive a little deeper into Ayurveda and the changing of seasons and what foods to eat is the website joyfulbelly.com, and I'll link that up below in the description. Lots of recipes. You can take a dosha test. You can find recipes that are good for your dosha. I do recommend it. It can be some interesting reading. The other site I would recommend is Banyan Botanicals. And they have a lot of great information on their site as well. Not so much on eating, but more on the herbs. So I'll link both of those up below. Thank you for listening to me today. I hope that you are going into your fall season and not feeling depression and not catching a cold and not having respiratory problems.